It's a sad box. It's a soap box. It's fan box.
If I could save time in a bottle.
And welcome to talking about Agatha All Along. This is our 6th episode. We're talking about episode 7. We're so disjointed with the numbers. It doesn't even matter. Thank you guys for listening or watching. Again, this is It's Fanbox. If you don't know about us, please be sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Make sure you leave a review if you are watching this or listening to this through podcasts. And we are super excited to have you. And of course, we are super excited to talk about episode 7. And this one was super fun and super zany. But before we go ahead and get into that, let's go ahead and bring on our cast, our panel. And we're going to just go ahead and start off with Tony Ann. Tony Ann, go ahead and tell us about yourself and where we can find you.
Hi, my name is Tony Ann. I am on TikTok and Instagram as Scarlet Bruja or the Scarlet Bruja, and I am a huge fan of the witches of the MCU, especially Wanda Maximoff, which is where my username came from. So, hello.
Okay. And then Sarah, go ahead and introduce yourself as well.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm at Movies and Tea across all platforms. And yeah, I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so I'm here.
Awesome. David, go ahead and introduce us.
I am Xanatos1138 on all social media platforms. And man, I love Scarlet Witch. That's why I'm here.
And of course, last but not least, a man who loves to read comics. That's Juan. Juan, tell us about yourself.
Oh, hey, how's it going? My name is Juan Reese Comics. You can find me on all social media platforms. Like Tony said, I love to read comic books, and this last episode in particular gets into a lot of lore. So I'm so excited to be here today. So thanks again for having me come on.
Absolutely. And if you are wanting to know more about any of the people that are on this panel tonight, be sure to just check in the description notes. I will have links to either their link trees, beacons, or even just their social media, whether it be TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube, or whatever it is. And definitely, we're going to have some more people. Unfortunately, some family emergencies took place, and so we will hope to have them later. And we've already got individuals who are excited to join us next week. And if you don't know, next week is the finale for this. For Agatha All Along, because episodes 8 and 9 will both play together, and so we're going to talk about them just like we did episodes 1 and 2 with the premiere. But don't worry, if you are enjoying this, you like us talking, you like us, waxing eloquent when it comes to Marvel content, by all means, do not hesitate to stay subscribed. We plan, or at least I know I do, unless everybody else gets sick of me, I plan to do more of these talks and panels. So we would love to have more people to participate. And maybe you are listening or you are watching, whether it's later or you'll be watching live, and you would be interested in participating in one of these panels, we would love to have you, because this is all about the fans. And so if you are a fan, if you are interested in talking, but you're not sure where to start, drop us a message on itsfanbox@gmail.com. We would love to see what we can do to either help you on your creative journey or get you started joining us for something. And we're not going to do just Marvel stuff. We'll be having content for Star Wars, everything else. Really want to get some book talk stuff going, because let's face it, I feel like it's not represented enough. Yeah, so we'll see what that goes down the road. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. And we're talking episode 7 of Agatha All Along. And let's just say it. This is a Patti LuPone episode, quintessential. Everybody, let's go ahead. I'm going to put myself at the bottom of this list here. Which Juan, I'm sorry. You know what? I made you go first. Here we go. I like this setup. Tony, I know you have so much to say, and you haven't been with us with a whole bunch of episodes. So I want you to go ahead and start us off. Overall thoughts.
I love Patti LuPone. That's my one and only thought. She made me cry in this episode. I really felt for her, and she, like, everyone's been saying she deserves an Emmy for this, and she definitely does. Like, she pulled at my heartstrings, and it was pulling at my heartstrings like Wanda did in WandaVision. It was like that vibe. And I love that we that now in this episode we can piece together all of the other visions she was having, and now everything makes sense. And it was so good. Everything about this was so good.
One.
Yeah, I really loved how they kind of like toned up, like they turned up the spookiness a little bit more in this episode, because we're getting closer to Halloween with the last two episodes, especially with the costumes that happen once they're in that one room when they're doing the trial. I have like a list of who I think they are, but yeah, I just love that they kind of really got into more of that like spookiness, Halloweenish, because we're getting so close to Halloween.
Mm-hmm. Sarah?
Yeah, I mean, I love this episode. I think, honestly, Lilia should have her own spin-off show after we saw this. Like, we got some backstory. We got, obviously, amazing acting from Patti LuPone. So I feel like if she's up for it, I'd be down for it.
David?
Yeah, I want to echo everyone else's sentiment because I loved Patti LuPone in this episode. I hope we get to see more of that, like everything that was shown. And just my favorite detail was just how everything threaded together so nicely. Like everything from the entire rest of the season was like, oh, this is why she randomly spoke. Like, I love how they brought that all together.
Oh, yeah. First of all, I want to say this. Patti LuPone was not as much on my radar before the show. I think there are some times where I would just say it, like, white guys sometimes miss out on some of the fun theater stuff. And the one thing that I really enjoyed was getting to know Patti LuPone outside of the show, because I was compelled by her during this show. And first of all, theater queen, 100%, absolutely. Absolute diva in interviews and on the acceptance stage for award ceremonies. Like, this woman exists to entertain just by being herself, which is fantastic. And then to see her do this, and I really, up until this episode, I was like, what are they doing? I almost feel like they're wasting her talent. She's cool and she's lovable, but like, why are they making her so quirky? And this episode was by far one of my favorite episodes out of the entire series, for the fact that we got these randomized. I'm trying to think what movie. I was sitting there thinking, like, okay, 12 Monkeys kind of reminded me of this, where it's like going back and forth through time, and then it was also like, there have been different movies where like you get fragments until everything pieces together later on. And I think it was really well executed. I think the purpose of it, and when she finally gets control, was amazing, because we saw how Jennifer had to trust her knowledge of potions and powers. Alice had to come to terms with her mother and with the purpose of what her mother's version of the Witch's Road was, and breaking the curse. And this one is absolutely the quintessential, like, coming to terms with who they are. Not super happy about how it ended specifically, but I think it was done really well. But yeah, I can't talk about how much I love this episode. So we start off. I was not expecting what we got from the image of this castle. It definitely took a very different turn than the other houses that we've seen. It almost kind of, because I feel like it was more like an Italian Sicilian type thing, or a Greek like castle in a sense, which I think was the first like indicator after the fact that we know that this is what is Lilia's challenge. But can we talk about these costumes?
So good. So his lip combo was perfect. I need to know the products, because he was killing it. He was killing it.
I was thinking the same thing the entire episode. I was like, what is this? I need it.
Yeah.
I will absolutely tell you, I'm working at Spirit Halloween right now for this season, and I kept seeing the Maleficent headpiece, and I'm like, I should get that. And then after this episode, I was like, next time I'm at work, I have to find it. And it was sold out. I was like, no. It was just like, I have never wanted a Maleficent headpiece until now. Like it was just so fun. So fun.
To kind of go back to where you were talking about that castle, if you know or heard it before, there's an album out there that Disney has done, which is like almost all instrumental. And that castle reminds me of the front of that album. I used to have it as a kid,
are you
like a
Fantasia?
record. No, it's like all Halloween stuff, and there's one with a cat, and then you have then there's like this narrator in the background, and she's like narrating each song and telling you what's going on. Man, I was trying to look it up, but I couldn't find it. But that castle really reminded me of it because it was a Disney album that they put out. So I'll find it and I'll tag you in it because I would definitely want to. I definitely saw that with that castle though. But yeah, the costumes. Man, I think I don't know if I'm jumping too much ahead, but I have some predictions on who they were. If it's like obvious who they are, but are we there, or should I say it, or what are we doing?
It's up to you guys. Oh, I think I found the record. Hold on a second.
It's like Halloween. The thrilling chills. Yeah. That
the chilling thrills sounds of the haunted house. I'm wondering if this is it. Hold on, I'm going to try to throw this up here. Let's go ahead and talk about that costume with Agatha talking about what is it? That she was the inspiration for the Wicked Witch of the West.
Like, what did she do to to gain that title? Because I mean, if she was the inspiration for the Wizard of Oz, or even Wicked's, which is Wicked Witch of the West, got tongue twister, then like, what exactly was she doing? Like, how was she green? How did she look like that? Like, what happened that made the directors be like, yeah, I think maybe that could be a thing?
I want to say this though. My first thought when she said she was the inspiration for the Wicked Witch of the West is like, I'm going to get you and your little dog too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's a good
Juan,
point.
is this the picture? Is this
yes, and that's the castle.
Dude,
that's awesome. It.
I actually
think the castle.
I think I actually have that album behind me. I didn't want to run looking for it. Okay, so we see these costumes. Okay, she's the inspiration for Elphaba. Okay, we'll go with that. This right here, like we got Glinda, we've got Elphaba. I saw this online.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
And if you think about the character, like the actual like comparison between the two, it makes a lot of sense. I feel like we know more from Maleficent because of the Angelina Jolie movies, so it's kind of like the misunderstood villain. But it's like, she deals with Sleeping Beauty, whatnot. I loved how the evil stepmother was Jennifer, and of course she uses a potion to basically cast Snow White into her sleep. And of course Glinda the Good Witch. Of course we all knew that Patti LuPone was the Good Witch, absolutely, without question. So yeah, I love this. So we're going a little fast, which is a-okay. So let's talk about this.
She looks phenomenal. She ate that. I'm excited.
I can see why she wanted, like why she was excited, because this costume looks awesome too.
Yeah.
Like, and so not to be mistaken with Hela. Hela is the goddess of death. Rio is death itself. And so I was not expecting this. Like, comic book, she's basically like a skeleton with a rope. Like, she's like the Undertaker. She's the Grim Reaper. At least she looks like that. I cannot imagine this being any better. Like, it's so cool.
What is she holding in her left hand?
Like a frog. Looks like a frog.
Yeah, I have no idea.
A flower, frog. I don't know.
she is okay. Hold on, let me do some more research here. Keep talking. I got an idea here.
Well, I
I feel
think
like
it's
this is what Aubrey
interesting.
Plaza loves to look like.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was literally,
Yeah,
I was just
exactly.
gonna say that, like, I think it's interesting that Tony mentioned that, you know, Hela's the goddess of death and she is death. So, like, does that mean that Hela reports down to her?
Maybe.
I've been seeing that online, and I want to know the same thing. Like, I'm not sure how that works.
I'm trying to see if I can get a better picture of what she's holding. Of course, she's got the dagger. That lower chin is amazing. Just the skeleton look of it. And what is she? Let's see here. I'm trying to see. See, we're doing all this like live and active.
Who knows?
Nope, I'm not seeing anything about it, and we're not going to waste everybody's time. We'll
all
figure it
good.
out later. But Lady Death, you know, so it's really funny. Like, I was really hoping for Lady Death in phases 1 through 3. Of course, you know, I get the purpose of Thanos and everything else. I would completely understand why Thanos would try to wipe out half of existence for this girl. Like, it makes perfect sense. And it's almost like we didn't get that chance. They had to flesh her out. They had to do it right. And of course, there are no toxic bros talking about what's wrong with this show, because this show eats every single day, and I'm absolutely loving it. And we get more and more from it. And I will say this. I think I said this on Twitter, on X. This show has surpassed WandaVision for me.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a legit statement.
I'm not claiming that yet. WandaVision's my baby. The finale has to blow me away in order.
I think it's going to.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hope so.
I think it's going to.
Even if like, let's say they lose, they fail the landing on the last 2 episodes, this show is the better of the Marvel MCU Disney Plus shows.
Definitely.
Even like, which is really sad to say. Like, I think they're ones that are really done well, and they're a lot of fun. They just don't end the way you expect them. They don't fulfill. We have gotten so much fulfillment that it's not really about, you know, where are they going next? Will they finish the story before the end? It's just episode after episode is just so self-contained and so well done that you want to get to the next thing.
You had to do that.
Oh my God. This shot is beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Everything. And like the way when she was falling, the way her dress was like flowing, I was like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, it was gorgeous.
Yeah, I love the cinematography in this, because it kind of reminded me a little bit of like with the way things were cutting, and Tony kind of touched on this a little bit. It kind of reminded me of Christopher Nolan's Memento, because they'll give you a little bit, then they'll go back, and then they'll give you 15 minutes more, then they'll go back again. So it kind of did that. And another Christopher Nolan film was Inception. This part right here screamed Inception for me when she's falling, because you had that moment in Inception when she's falling. Just beautifully shot, beautifully done. The use of light here is just perfect. Throughout the whole show, the use of light and the use of the camera work is just by far just like chef's kiss. Like I'm speechless just on the cinematography and just the lighting alone in this episode.
I loved how the reverse tower was not just a message for Billy. It was literally, it was her message to herself, kind of foretelling what was going to happen. And it was interesting. Like, did you guys like the fact that like she would be farther behind with more knowledge ahead, and like knowing like that one point where Jennifer is like filling her in, because a future version of herself had filled Jennifer in early. Like, at first I almost wasn't sure I was going to like it. And then all of a sudden, like when it all pieced together and made sense, and it was just like the whole thing when like she was like angry at Billy, and then immediately she's like, listen, you said you're good with him, you know, believe me, you're good. And yeah.
I liked the out of order type setup that was going on. It kind of, I mean, I love Steve Moffat. If you guys have like watched some of his work, like his directorial style, and I felt like this was kind of like that, where you're trying to piece together what exactly is happening, and half of it's in her mind and like memory, and half of it isn't. And like, I also was like thinking about this scene later on, and I was just wondering, like, when she's in that apple orchard with her mentor, like wherever she was, and she was saying that she was falling, I'm wondering if she was referring to this moment here and not her falling from the dirt. Like, I'm wondering if she was actually looking forward in that moment. But the whole thing altogether was really cool. It was a great puzzle, and it left you like I'm wondering now, like wondering for more.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it goes because right at the beginning of the show, you see Lilia's face right straight up you see it like this, and then she starts to fall, and then the music starts, and then it comes back again in the middle of the show, and then we see it at the end. So it's like a culmination of her falling, because like to me, the subplot of this show wasn't about Billy; it was all about Lilia, and I feel like that Lilia is like a secret piece that we didn't know that we needed, and she is going to be the protagonist that's going to come back. It's going to come back and like probably defeat death, because I feel like characters like this, because Marvel's done this many times, they bring characters out that are pretty big and then they kill them off really quick. I probably think that death is probably going to get the axe. But one thing that Tony mentioned was when Lilia was telling the kid or Billy that we're cool, it was a funny moment when she said to her, he goes, "Oh no, we're cool. I thought we were cool." And he goes, "Oh," and she goes, "No, we're not, teenager." And then Jen goes, "Oh damn, she was his full name."
Full name.
That shit had me rolling, man. I had to pause it and stop for a second, catch my breath, man. I'm a little big boy over here, so I had to stop for a second. But yeah. Like the little funny parts that are happening in between all of the kind of negative things that we're getting to leading up to Lilia falling, just really kind of lightens it up a little bit, even though it's going to be kind of dark.
You want straight answers? Ask a straight lady. That was probably the best line.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then was it Agatha saying, what can I say? I like bad boys. Like, welcome, Will. Welcome for joining us. Joining a little bit late. I sent the invitation out and glad you could join us.
Have I joined you though?
You are there.
I mean, at least vocally. That's okay. I have a real face for radio. I'm sorry if this came up before, but does anyone think that the Lilia that we see opening this is the Lilia that has dropped into this moment of falling, not knowing what's going on because of the look of fear on her face, but then the Lilia that we get at the closing of the episode is the one that is satisfied because she knows why she's falling and what she has done and why she's done it.
That's interesting. Yeah.
The only thing that I could say is the hallucination that she had in that first trial, knowing that she's outlived her coven and that her coven was wiped out. I would have loved to have had a little bit more of that explained, other than it just kind of being a passing conversation. Because I felt like we've gotten from everybody these like little pieces of, like we knew when Alice saw her mother, that was, her mother, basically her suffering from the curse. There was a fire. And then you had Agatha seeing like what she did with the Darkhold. And we had Sharon going back to that episode in WandaVision where, we hear what she was really saying when she couldn't say just stop. And it's interesting because I feel like there was something more we could have had other than just coming to terms that she had to stop acknowledging herself as being this this weakling, not being able to control her powers, that her powers were out of control because her powers were just out of sync, and she just needed to know that. So
Fair enough.
know.
Fair
So
enough.
question to everybody: who was Lilia meeting with? Was that her mother, or was that another witch, or who was that?
I
I
figured
think
it
it
was
was
a
another
grandmother.
witch. Oh, could be that too.
Yeah.
What was that?
I was thinking it was, what was it?
I thought it was another witch. I thought it was
Okay.
like someone, like a mentor
Mm.
witch. But
Yeah.
Okay.
Same.
I think in a sense with the witches, I think the understanding is that they are family regardless of whether it's, it's by blood. And so her being trained at such a young age was rather interesting because I feel like we see like a covens like can come together, and this is like a familial coven, her growing into it. They very well could be related. And you can definitely see that there is respect, and there is they're not coddling her at all. So
right.
yeah. Okay, I gotta ask the question. Like, let's just go ahead and throw stuff out there. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the thing because I didn't have a whole lot of slides. Again, Marvel, please release these before Monday. Like, it would be just be helpful if you release assets. So I'm not searching online and trying to copy and paste stuff. So let me pose this to you guys. The under road, the road below the road. What did you think about that? Because I think that was the only thing that was kind of like, what in the world is this? Like, explain it. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, I thought it was a workaround, and it's kind of like, I don't know, like the whole rule of not going off the road. But like if you go off the road, you'll just go under the road, and you're technically still on the road. I don't know. I personally didn't like it all that much. I thought maybe like if anything, I would want like the dirt to like flip around and spit everyone back up onto the road. Yeah, the under road definitely felt like something out of like
It seemed like too easy of an escape.
Yeah.
And you see, I didn't hit a wall against it only because they didn't step off the road. They were thrown off the road, not of their own volition. So this was a thing where it was kind of like the rules of the road applied, but then it also self-corrected in the same way when they were flying and everything got inverted and then they were pulled back down because, the road was like, no. And in this case, Billy had intervened. So it's not like they purposely went off the road, but why did they fall through and Agatha did not? I know it's all fiction, but I didn't hit a wall against it. I mean, I'm just having a bigger problem with Tony's poor sick voice coming across as one of the Lollipop Guild. I hope you're feeling better. Also, since I'm strobing, I'll be right back. I'm going to restart this whole darn PC.
And that's been Will Wilkins, everybody.
The only thing I noticed about the underground, and somebody actually pointed this out, I went, oh yeah, that's why. When they saw the subway station exit, Mrs. Hart had mentioned something about an old subway rail transit somewhere in the beginning of the season, right? And like that was it. That exit was actually part of the subway station. I thought that was a cool detail, but that's really all I noticed about the underground. But yeah, it was kind of a loophole. It was weird.
Yeah. I think it was good to give an option for them to decide to stay on the road or leave the road. Like at that point, they could have abandoned them, and we know based on what the challenge was, if they would have abandoned them, both of them would have been dead.
Right.
No, for sure. Yeah.
Well, maybe all of them because they wouldn't have been able to pass that trial without Lilia. So they would all be gone.
Let me ask. Agatha seems to be very antagonistic against a lot of the different crafts that are involved in the witchcraft. And she had a lot of negative things to say about Terror Tara. And I mean, we're talking about, you know, Lilia has this power to do this, but I keep getting vibes that Agatha's never really been down the road before, because she would know
Oh,
what
yeah.
these challenges are, and if these challenges are specific to the Coven, and she only went out with one other person, it seems a little weird to me.
Yeah. One thing about Agatha is that she's a liar. So I didn't trust her when she said that. And then when Billy brought it up, I was like, he has the right idea. Like, you shouldn't think she's been on the road, because nothing she's done gives her any credit that she's done this before. It's all like she has no idea what's going on. Yeah, you're not strobing anymore.
Yeah, I feel a little bit better now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just took a
I'm
little
having this
bit of a
conversation.
bump.
I'm
Yeah,
not even seeing Will, and I'm getting text messages saying knock knock. So I'm glad you're here. So.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know I came in late, but I also just have to say that I don't know what it is about either time travel or nonlinear storytelling, but I have, and I kid you guys not, I have watched this episode at least 6 times since Wednesday, at least. And it only because I keep getting something else out of it every single time I watch it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I never even
Now-
picked up on the mirroring of the imagery between the cards and the scenes of the people that she's referencing.
That was beautiful.
Mhm.
I didn't even catch that. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I think that wasn't until like the 3rd viewing. And I
Really?
have viciously, I think except Sarah's videos came up, I have viciously been avoiding or swiping up on every single piece of content I see, because I'm just enjoying ingesting this episode so much. Patti LuPone was already a hero. Now she's purely the icon that she always has been, but more so in my eyes. So I just wanted to get that out there, and I'm sorry. to probably take a step back to something everyone else has already said.
Yeah. And if you are listening to this, wherever you're listening to it from, and you don't know Patti LuPone very much, I just challenge you again. I said this last week, go on social media and see how she's been promoting this show, and you will absolutely fall in love with her. I think the Hot Ones, just the clips with her and Aubrey Plaza, has been the best content. I don't even watch the Hot Ones, but I love that. And she's just like talking about Madonna not having talent. And then she's like, Kim effing Kardashian. Like, this woman is a national treasure, and I absolutely love her for
Tony,
it.
why are you antagonizing me? Because there's no way I can sit here and have you describe Hot Ones the same way my grandmother would have. On the Hot Ones. Really, pal? Come on. You're better than that.
Listen, you I don't care. You say what you want to say. Okay. Beyond the story, beyond the casting, let's also talk about the practical effects in the show, because all of those sets are real sets. All of those props are real props. And if you did not know, all of those swords were real swords that were connected with piano wire that were set to fall in specific places. And it was a hazard on set, but that was all practically done. And well done it was.
I could imagine the insurance premiums went up a lot on this episode, because holy moly. Yeah, that's a terrifying thought. Completely and totally. I wouldn't work under such circumstances unless it was I would hope for like some very careful blocking as well, so that way it's a forced perspective thing that the camera is catching the drop from here and all of the actors are realistically 8 feet away. But man, oh man, I'm going to take a hard pass on that one. I wouldn't work under such conditions,
especially when they were like this close, because it was going
on
their heads.
They were real life anxious. That was real.
Yeah, some of that dodging was not fictional. Like that was just natural.
No, can I just ask, even though I'm sure again everyone's already talked about this, but did anyone else start to make the connections in what Lilia was saying? Because I know that for me it really clicked with the backwards presentation of let's see, Alice, don't try to save Agatha. Try to save Agatha, followed with later in the one of the next episodes, Alice, don't. Right, and like that was, I think, the first one that connected for me, and of course the "I love you" guys matched up so well with them sitting around and her saying, in the beginning we really hated each other, but now, and she drifted off. Like that was the moment where I realized, oh, these writers have been putting in overtime. But did anyone else pick up on it sooner than that? I'm just curious.
I thought like you were saying, when she was kind of going back and forth and saying like Alice, don't, and like those small moments that were not necessarily like I love you, or like those moments where it was visibly like she was confused. I felt like those moments there was a connection, and I was like, oh, okay, like this was foreshadowing, like literally a moment that happens 30 minutes later. But all of the other ones, I'm like, what the hell is this? Like these are just random words happening, and then suddenly all connected in this episode. But yeah.
Yeah, I honestly thought that they were foretelling for like the next episode of something that happened. Like Alice, don't. Like I thought it was something else. Like even because I think we got it before the music scene or whatever, and then the whole save Agatha thing. Like I'm sitting there going, oh, okay, this is this doesn't make sense. Like okay, so Agatha is the important one, and it's like, oh no, don't save Agatha. Okay, I get it now. Thank you. I feel stupid.
How do
so
sorry.
Good.
I mean, just one more question, because this is just, I'm sorry, I'm literally crashing the panel so I can get everybody else's opinion about all the things I noticed, which makes me the absolute worst guest. Blame Tony.
That's fine.
At 13 minutes before, he's like, please feel free to drop in.
Oh, and he left.
There we go. Now, how does everyone feel about the fact that we were, because, the road and the roots, vines or what have you in the caves, the colors are always changing, right? Like when we show up, it's blue, which have led people down their own Billy rabbit holes in that regard. But how do we feel about the fact that the majority of this one was yellow, but as they are going out through the Iron Maiden, we can clearly see now that we've traded to green? Does that mean that the next one we're going to be, well, I guess it would make sense with the big reveal. We're going to be very Rio-centric on the next one. Maybe.
Buddy, I love how you turned off your...
He was so close. So close. It was basically, we got Hachu. So
I thought I muted my mic. I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, it's okay.
But
it's okay.
I sorry, I guess I kind of answered my own question there. But what do you guys think about this transition from yellow to clearly green now?
Well,
yeah,
I think possibly. Good.
I was gonna say, I think next episode's gonna be a lot of background on the original Green Witch, or the Green Witch, which is Death. So that's what I think, because it led to her at the end.
Yeah, I also think the yellow had a lot to do with kind of what they were wearing, because Glinda, the yellow brick road, the yellow, leaves. Like, I think it had something to do with that as well. Like, it's possible it represented, Lilia as a witch, but I thought it was really fun because you have this castle, they're going down these yellow leaves, and then she's Glinda the Good Witch. Like, okay, that makes perfect sense. Let's go with it.
Well, I know that with Alice's trial, the leaves were orange going into the kind of the fire trial, which is an aspect of the show that I've absolutely loved. Even though for everyone that's gone down the rabbit hole of whether this is truly the witch's road or is this something that Billy has manifested, I've probably spent less time rewatching, but more time freeze framing all of the things that were in Billy Kaplan's room and starting to go, how much of this have we seen, and started to ponder on that way too much. And Tony will attest to the fact, I am not a speculator. I'm here for the ride. I don't try to think things through. I don't try to guess where they're going. I just want to enjoy the journey. But that room, that episode, immediately followed by all of this heavy Oz influence in this one. It's like, guys, what's going on here?
Yeah, that's what's so good about this show is because like I'm the same way. I don't like to really speculate. I don't like to watch trailers anymore because it gives too much away of what I'm going to watch. But the writing and everything with the show is just, it makes you want to do that. It makes you want to like go and research these characters and try to figure out what is actually going on, because it's a mystery that we're on. We're on a mystery road, so to speak, and I really enjoy that because it's a feeling like getting back to when we're in like phase 3 and 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, when we're first there. Like you're so hyped for the next movie to come out or the next TV show. Like this show has all that embodied in just this show so far. So like I haven't felt this way since the beginning of like, the cinematic universe. So yeah, I understand what you're saying.
I'm both happy and sad for Wednesday coming up this week.
Yeah.
I know, same.
Yeah.
But we got Daredevil Born Again very soon, so
Whoop,
don't lose
whoop.
hope.
Oh
I'll take
yeah.
that.
Don't lose hope.
Oh yeah.
My man is
Especially-
coming back.
Especially, I mean, like, I'm sure a lot of people were very hesitant about the news that, they've gone back and they've retooled. But I think that's actually great news because we all had so many issues.
100%.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
By the way,
Not to make this about Daredevil, even though I make everything about Daredevil, but they did so much better things with like Foggy and everything. They made the right decision doing that. So I hope every project going forward with Marvel, they rethink things. Like no one wanted just a Matt Murdock as a lawyer show.
Yeah.
Just saying. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the thing. Okay, so I think Juan and Will kind of like triggered something with me. One of the things with phases 1 through 3 that I think worked was they didn't really have to convince us. They just said this is what is, and they just told good stories. I think where we've been struggling since phases 4 and on is the idea of we've got these great characters, and it's almost like they've been pushing the stories to justify the characters when they didn't need to do that. We got She-Hulk, and I love Jennifer Walters. I love She-Hulk. We got Moon Knight. We got Miss Marvel. We got all these characters, but in some ways, it was almost like they had to prove through an origin story, whereas some just existed. Like they just they had a chance to exist, and later on we got a story because we never really got a Black Panther origin story. If you really think about it. We got him. Yes, he was already the Black Panther. He later on becomes king. That's fine. But it was already established that Wakanda existed. And I think we're now at a point where
Wakanada.
These witches, no. We're not mispronouncing names of countries here. We're not going to do it, even fictional ones. But I really think they didn't introduce us into like the origins of all these characters. We're getting glimpses of them, but these characters stand alone and exist, and we're just kind of catching up to them and again, it's just like the thing. WandaVision, I wanted to know more about Agatha. I wanted to have more Agatha. I thought it was a great character. Now we have all of these other characters. I want to know more about the Salem Seven. I want to know more about Lady Death. I want to know more about all. That's the way I think these writings should be done, where it makes you want more. And yes, there are great Easter eggs and there are hints in the background of things, and you'll be like, "Oh, I get it. I get it. That's cool," and that's the way it should be. But it shouldn't be the focus. Like I feel like we were given so many little hints here and there. Star Fox, Pip the Troll, the Celestials, and all of these things, which I loved all of them, but there's no payoff. Let some of this stuff exist in the background, and then let us just kind of discover and elaborate if necessary. And I think that's what's going to work. And of course, it's worked with this show.
Now, are the Salem Seven still there? Because they got
Nope.
Yeah.
no, they got diced.
Unfortunately, and everybody's like, "Oh, I only saw 5," and then of course, old Jack Schaefer comes rolling in saying, "No, that was it. That off the table."
Where else would the other 2 go then? Like there was swords everywhere.
Well, I mean, 2 of them technically could fly, so but yeah,
technicalities.
Jack already confirmed that. Thanks, and that deaths are real, the ones we see. But again, it was
like Marvel doesn't lie.
Well, yeah, it was one of those unfortunate things, like for lack of a better term, but a different piece of entertainment altogether. the entire Beetlejuice's wife, whose name I'm not remembering, in the new Beetlejuice solely existed mostly for a diversion, to divert us from the real bad culprit. And that's kind of like, I feel like the Salem Seven just it needed to create a little bit of angst for us or for the characters, but really they only existed to distract us from the fact, if you didn't see the toilers, that the big bad in the last 2 episodes is going to be death itself, which seems to be the greatest challenge that's implied on the witch's road. So it's like they're technically playing in death's playground to get a payoff. So I get that, but it is a bit of a bummer that they introduced these interesting and amazing characters and spun them in a way to take them from the comic book origin and make them work in this little tiny glimpse, and then then just it's like, okay, well, they were creepy figures, and then now they're not a threat. I'm like, okay,
yeah. Like, Marvel, please stop making villains and then killing them off before we can have a payoff with them. Like,
right?
Table them for a while. But
it was very much like the Knights of Ren from Star Wars. That was my very first comparison when I saw them just get stabbed. It's like, oh well, they're gone now, and they barely had anything. All right.
Yeah. Well, I guess
Marvel is.
Yeah. Thanks, Disney.
Yeah, Marvelous Johnny. We were talking about this like on Discord, and Jonathan was like, "I hope they didn't just do a Knights of Ren thing with them. Like, come on, like don't."
Sorry, Johnny.
So, yeah.
By the way, on this episode, this week's episode 7, has anyone else brought up Sarah's amazing breakdown on the camera work that's been going on in this show and this episode especially?
Yeah, I mean, we touched on it a little. I think we touched on cinematography and camera work.
Everybody's like, Will, just wait till the show's over and rewatch it already. Come on.
or like this. Just look at Sarah and be like, hey, can you please talk about this?
Yeah, I know, it was quite epic, and I know, like, particularly, I don't know what's up with my followers, but they hate it when I talk about camera work, because they're like, you're reaching, and I'm like, I'm not, though.
Well, I mean,
and I thought, like, it was just so brilliant, especially, like, the video that I had made that Will's referencing is, like, there's a scene near the end where Lily is sitting with, like, her mentor, which person, whoever it is, and the camera goes from like focus straight on, and then it goes to like her right side and to her left side. And I thought that was interesting because there's like 3 different quote unquote time periods that she's existing in the episode. It's the one with her mentor, and then the present, and then all of those past moments. And I thought that was very symbolic, and it was really cool. And there's a couple other moments which I know Juan talked on.
And that's kind of like the powerful moment for me that made me realize that the bookends of the episode are 2 Lilias in 2 different places in time because of that literal perspective change where she says, I was falling. And then the perspective completely shifts. And then she says, I'm going to fall. So now she understands what's going on. And that's instantly where she goes into, I know what I did wrong. And it's just like, I'm goosebumps. I got goosebumps just thinking about it again. That's the sign of good entertainment, right? That's art. Art affects you. And I'm a nerd. So anyway.
Just a comment on ZB, our one commenter on the show right now. And it, kind of funny, we talk about Thanos saying that he was inevitable. And of course, we know in the comics he courted death. Z says she is inevitable, as in death herself, which is actually a really nice, I think, a nice statement to think about with her. So
well, and if it's any implication of the death that we had from the comics, it's not, nobody's going to defeat death. It's just they're going to maybe trick their way out of this, or somebody's sacrificing themselves for somebody else to be able to get through this, and that's it. So that's the only thing that I've now reconciled myself with for the last 2 episodes.
Yeah. Do we know what Lilia's full power is? Because there was a moment when she said Jen was talking to her. She's like, "Are you getting your full powers back?" And she's like, she didn't know or whatever. But I'm wondering, because I have a theory that she's coming back in either the last episode or in both, because she implies that, she says at the beginning that the flow of time is an illusion that most people don't realize. And then she also said, she was also talking about that when she was a child, she experienced my life out of sequence, and now it's happening again. So it went away for a while and then came back. And I feel like there's something happening there, but I just kind of wanted to throw that out there if you felt that way or not, because I don't think Lilia's dead. But yeah, I just throw that out there.
I will say, like, the whole concept of time travel in the MCU has always been so wonky, but the fact that there's an individual that can go out of stream sequence is something I would love for them to investigate more into.
I feel, again, talking over everybody. I feel that it really, what they conveyed in this episode,
buddy.
I know. I feel what they conveyed in the episode is that she suppressed and turned her back on her power because there was no real gain for her from it, because it just always resulted in pain. But
also,
but also
a weakness.
Yeah. What?
She felt it was a weakness because it didn't really serve any purpose that she knew of.
Right.
Like she struggled with that. It's like Bruno.
Mm-hmm. But she had that, and then she also had divination, which is why I think she was able to say, when she calls you a coward, hit the deck. You know what I mean? So she at least saw that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I think she was honestly speaking of the Coven, she was one of the most powerful. She just wasn't wanting to use one of her natural gifts.
Okay, let's talk about this real quick. We've seen her experiencing things in time that she's physically present for. This is the first time we're getting a prophetic like direction that it seems like with her, falling to her doom in that episode, she's talking about something that's she's aware of that she may not physically be present for. So is this the indicator that we will get her later on?
No. I love Lilia. I love her. I want her to come back, but her ending was so perfect. That's the first thing that I'm like, don't touch it. And the second thing is, what was it? Oh, everything caught up to her at the end. Like she was all caught up, past, present, future-ish. She's all caught up in her own mind, and she knows exactly where everything had landed. And I think for her, being singular in time in that moment was her, like that was the end.
But the question is, though, every moment that she bounced back and forth with, she was alive to witness what was happening, to let people know. Like when she said, oh, the next trial is tarot, and she was like, well, why didn't you tell me that? No, you already told me that. And she was like in this blank spot. So I feel like when she told Agatha, when she calls you a coward, hit the deck, she saw it. So that means she physically saw it and physically was there. So I feel like she's still alive because, again, the flow of time is an illusion that most people don't realize.
Now we're going to get into a nerdy argument.
Yeah, I was about to say I'm about to push back.
No, because I think we at least have one solid instance of her, or I would say two solid instances of her divination. When she writes out the list of names, that was divination. She didn't foresee anything. She wasn't bouncing around at that point. That was an actual gift thing. The lights flickered. Same thing with with Williams reading at the bar mitzvah. That was divination. Lights are flickering. She didn't bounce forward or back. She looked down. When we saw the future Billy in the crystal ball. So that was their visual cue to us that this was divination. And she even explains her powers like in the second or in the third episode, I think, or fourth episode, where she's like, oh, it's a misconception. Da, 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 da. So I think that some elements are divined. How did she know this element? We didn't get spoon-fed that she had the foresight of this, but this one important moment came across. Which reminds me of one other thing that on my fourth viewing, I can tell you each one of the numbers where I saw something new. On my fourth viewing, because my fourth viewing was after going through all the episodes again, And it was interesting that Jen in the tarot reading and in this episode, she tells her, you're the way forward. Because in that moment she tells her that, Jen just told her, I'm not going before you. Whereas if you go back to the very first trial, when that stove opens, which witches don't have a good history with, but okay, she knocks Lilia out of the way to get in there first to get out. So even Jen has in this episode gone through such an experience with Lilia, with the I want you because you're my sister in the craft, and they have this bonding. In that moment, instead of self-preservation, she is all about wanting to make sure that her sister in the craft is safe before she goes through. And then I admit I cried.
Yeah, so did I. As soon as that Jim Croce song came on, I was just like, "It's time in a bottle."
Yeah, but that triggered so many people.
Like,
they were like,
I'm
"We
not
just
crying.
had Ralph Boner and the Quicksilver, and how could they?" But yeah, that Jim Croce
the
song
music has
messed me up
been
as a kid too. Ugh,
that music has been on spot on the whole time. Just every episode has had great music. It's really like just the Billie Eilish song with the Billie reveal, off with her head. Like, I mean, just let's just face it. Like it's invoking so much emotions. We're getting toward the end. We're of the show, literally. And we've got 2 episodes left. We don't know where it's going. And here's my question for you guys. And I'll pose this to all of you, and you guys can take your turns. Here's my question. Do you think we're going to get to the end of the Witch's Road, or are we going to get more Agatha All Along after this? Like, we're going to get a promise for more. What do you guys think? How do you think this is all going to wrap up in 2 episodes? I'm kind of curious. Tony, I'm going to ask you first.
My gut is telling me that this is the last of Agatha that we'll see. I don't think there's much more they can do with her. I'm hoping she gets some closure at the end of the show for her own mental sake. I was thinking about it today, and I was like, what if it ends up being that like Agatha dies at the end of the show, or like something crazy happens to her? I don't know. I was thinking, because I don't know anymore with these shows. Everything I say is wrong. So I don't I don't know. Like, I just don't know what else they could do with Agatha. Like, this is going to be hopefully the perfect ending for her character in Marvel. Mm-hmm. Or if maybe she'll help mentor Billy and help him with his powers. Or like, I don't know what Billy's going to do, where he's going to find his brother. I don't know anything. He scares me. Billy Maximoff scares me a lot. Very scared of that kid.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Juan?
Man, the last 2 episodes, like I kind of gave you a little bit of what I felt. I don't think Lilia's dead. I think she's probably going to be the main protagonist to come back to help out the girls and whatnot. But that's my only theory that I have for the last 2 episodes. I'm just excited for next week. Just to sit down in front of my couch and watch these 2 episodes, because it's been a blast. It's been a ride, and it's a long time coming to actually get some really good TV. And I'm just excited. I'm just excited for next week.
Absolutely. Sarah?
Yeah, I'm also really excited, a little nervous. I also don't believe that we're going to get that much more Agatha. And yeah, I also hope, and I'm just kind of echoing everyone, but yeah, I hope that Agatha gets some type of closure. And I think the one thing that I'm hoping for like the most is that Billy gets set up in such a way that he feels in a place to either have like a show or be able to like join the Young Avengers by the end of this show. So I think there needs to be some type of setup with him, and maybe hopefully there's some type of closure as it regards Tommy, or like him trying to get Tommy again. I don't know. Something with Billy at the end.
Sure.
Yeah.
David.
Yeah, definitely some form of closure for everyone. Maybe even like in the future, one of the witches maybe talks to Doctor Strange. That's like a random thing I thought it would be really funny. But just keeping the trend of the end credit scene of like Kate Bishop coming and trying to recruit Billy for the Young Avengers, like some thread of that to continue on.
Okay. Will?
Okay, first of all, Catherine Hahn, too much of a cash cow. You cannot, very funny. You cannot, you can't walk away from her. However, a very fitting ending after all this antagonism and obvious sexualization that's occurred, for her to sacrifice herself with Billy, but then be able to go hand in hand in the sunset with Rio, who she does love, right? Death, because death would come for her. That would be nice as well. I have no idea where it's going. Obviously, there's a lot of unanswered questions as well still, because, you know, was Tommy able to make it out of the hex like Billy did somehow? We don't know that. And what are the implications there? Where would this go from here? I have no idea. You know, all I know is just going off of what we've seen in the trailers, there's Catherine Hahn screaming, you know, like, where's my reward? So she obviously makes it to the end of something and expects something. So I honestly have no idea. I can't wait to see what it is. And I really don't think, I think after all of this and after all of the monetization they've probably made off of music alone, there's no way they put Catherine Hahn to rest in the MCU. Am I willing to hang my hat on that? No, but I mean, like, from a money perspective, it'd be foolish to walk away, unless she was just like, guys, I did this, I'll do this one thing, and that's it, which I'm sure is what Lapone said. But anyway, we'll see.
Yeah. One thing I would say is I would love to see this coven in some form or faction still go on, even if they recruit new members and they build on. I think the witches side of the MCU is something that needs to exist. It needs to be either in opposition to Kamar-Taj, or in unison with. I think it adds an extra facet to it. You know, we had the Asgardian magic. You know, we've had, you know, Doctor Strange and, you know, the Sorcerer Supreme now. This gives a whole nother level of the darker side of the MCU. And with the Bloodstone and Werewolf by Night appearing, I feel like Marvel is set to do that. And maybe down the road, even though Blade is indefinitely, delayed, you know, we'll get it to a point where we could have Blade, the Midnight Suns, you know, and a lot more of that.
Well, ZB in the chat brings up. Oh, sorry, Zach. I just want to say ZB in the chat brings up the one thing that's going to happen by the end of this that will be smacking our heads, because the title of the show is Agatha All Along, and that's going to be a revelation of some type by the end of the episode and the series.
Sure. And maybe it's that she's the key of it. Now, could it be a self-sacrifice thing? Could it be a moment? Because I think for her, with her challenge, I felt like her challenge wasn't really completed when it got to it. I feel like it got halted, and she needed to be exposed for the danger that she was. And I'm hoping that statement that she said to her mother, where she's like, I can be good, that's what we get from it. Maybe we don't see her, you know, go to a season 2. Maybe we don't see her go down the road and have her own feature film, but we see her with the Richards, or we see her, you know, as a consultant for different things, or maybe she is gone. And part of the problem with Scarlet Witch coming back is that she's also possessed by Agatha, and there's a duality fighting between the two of them, which is not unheard of with the comics.
It's another.
So there's lots.
Man. Oh well, I don't want that.
But it's another unanswered question. Is her power, is her gift something she can control or not? You know what I mean? Is it this demon inside her that feeds off other people's magic and she doesn't want it, but it happens, and so she's living with it? Who knows? I don't.
I really still feel like all of that was it's like. I promise you, I didn't do that. Did not do that. No, but to answer Will's question, I personally feel like it's like an addiction, and it's one of those things where maybe she meant the power to protect her, and then at the same time she didn't know the consequence about it, and then she just kind of like accepted being the villain. And maybe we see a change in that. And then the other thing I would say, this is my last thing, and then I'm done, and then we'll wrap up. I would love to understand what this contract is with Rio and Agatha, where Rio can't kill Agatha. Like, what is that? Was there some curse that was put on Agatha where she can't die? And that's
She
part
made deal
of
with the devil.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Then we got Mephisto.
Nicholas
So-
Strange too.
Someone actually, I was doing a live today, and one of my followers was like, since Jen brought up Mephisto, they were like, what if she's an agent of Mephisto? And I was like, don't tell me that right now. I cannot.
Wasn't her tarot card the high priestess?
Yeah.
The high priestess of what?
This is the problem. I was like, you're about to make me spiral. Don't do this to me right now. Like, because I drove my husband crazy with the Mephisto theories during WandaVision. He was over me. And he was like, oh, now it's going to start again because they said Mephisto. And I was like, but you don't get it. It could be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's face it. Marvel has gone and avoided Mephisto as much as possible. No Way Home should have been a deal with the devil type thing, but it didn't happen. I still believe that crane was Mephisto, but that's just how it is, you know. It's crazy. All right. Any last comments before we wrap up for the evening? Anything you guys want to share or talk about? Speak now or forever hold your peace until next week. And David, you've got to stop talking our ear off. I'm just going to say that right now. All right. With that said, yeah. With that said, let's go ahead and wrap up. Tony Ann, let's go ahead. We're going to do clockwise. Go ahead and tell us again where we can find you. And we'll be done from there. So go ahead.
All right. So on TikTok, I am Scarlet Bruja, which is BRUJA. And then on Instagram, it's the Scarlet Bruja. So just put a the before it. If you don't do that, you're going to get some random person who just stole my username. But that's it.
Juan, go ahead.
Oh, I'm Juan Reads Comics on all social medias. And also, if you like action figures, I'm on Nerd Initiative and I unbox figures and play with toys like a 46-year-old man should do. So go follow us over there and watch me unbox some action figures.
Absolutely. Sarah?
I'm at Movies and Tea across all socials except for X. I just recently deactivated that account.
Well, unfortunately, you are on X right now, so just so you know. We're explaining that.
Well.
David, where can we find you?
I am Xanatos1138 on all socials, but mostly on TikTok. I post a bunch of Marvel stuff, Star Wars stuff, everything.
Okay. And be sure to follow us on It's Fanbox. We are at It's Fanbox everywhere. You can also find us on itsfanbox.com, which we're hoping to have a website coming soon. Right now, it just takes you right to our YouTube channel. But with that, be sure, just like Juan said, check out Nerd Initiative, nerdinitiative.com for all of your comic book reviews, movie reviews, TV show reviews, or I guess streaming at this point, as well as some amazing toy unboxings between Juan and Mickey, our Self-Wall Wallet Keys. It's been really cool. And also, if you like wrestling, there is wrestling there for you. But we would love to have you visit there as well. With that said, be sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications. If you are a podcast subscriber, please review us. We really appreciate it. We appreciate you guys being a part of it. All 40 some plus more of you, all 1,100 downloads that has happened, and more. And we're just looking forward to seeing more of you. And there will be more content down the road. Even when Agatha is gone, we'll be working on doing some stuff with the MCU, because there's lots of things we can go back and talk about and hash out, because I really feel like the more time that sits from a piece of content, the more we can really objectively talk about it. And I don't think we'll ever not talk fondly about this show, because it's just so well done. But let's face it, we're, here's to having more shows like Agatha All Along. But with that said, thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you, all of you panel members, for joining as well. And everyone, have a happy Halloween. We'll see you on Dia de los Muertos.